Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, you hit the nail on the head there. Like the gay community and authenticity, it feels like there's kind of a something missing. It feels like sometimes people are trying to fit a mold, they're trying to fit some kind of stereotype, or because it's all about community and it's all about trying to bond and tribes. And so, obviously we look at Grindr, and Grindr literally has something called tribes, right? And so it is like it's in our DNA to want to be part of a community. And I see
Yeah.
it time and time again where gays are like, trying to be part of the community, but they might not actually be living authentically to who they are. And so for me, my journey was quite interesting. So I was born in Geneva in Switzerland, and I grew up in a tiny little village in France, which has about 400 people.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was always like a very extrovert kid, like, and I was always very, very sensitive. And I think it was probably around the age of like 11 that I knew that I had like feelings for men or boys or whatever.
Mm. Welcome to the Queer Quest podcast, your beacon of light and sprinkle of glitter in the queer community. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for queer individuals. And together, we are embarking on a journey of transformation. Each week, we bring you a new training topic or connecting with visionary queer leaders in healing and coaching, diving deep into conversations that inspire growth, celebrate diversity, and empower you to live authentically. So wherever you are, settle in and let's get ready to unlock the vibrant potential within. This is where your quest begins. Hello, all you fabulous souls, and welcome to another episode of the Queer Quest podcast. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, the CEO and founder of Queer Quest, and a transformation coach for people in the queer community. And as you can probably tell, if you are watching this, I'm not alone in this episode. I have a special guest. We have Andrew Rowe in the house, who is a limiting belief expert and psychic who can spot your blind spot within 2 seconds of meeting you. And he just did that to me. So, welcome to the podcast, Andrew.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, really excited to be here. We just had a few minutes talk beforehand just to get to know each other properly. And I asked Andrew, to read me, and he gave me some insightful things. I'm not going to go on about that right now because that's about me. We're here to talk about Andrew. So, what is a limiting belief expert? Tell everyone about that, because some people know about limiting beliefs, but they don't necessarily understand. And as the expert, I'd love for you to talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our limiting beliefs are just basically thoughts that we've had, that we've repeatedly thought, and that have then become a belief system. Usually they are created between the ages of like 0 to 8, which is our formative years. However, you can have limiting beliefs that come up when you're teenagers. You can also have limiting beliefs that come up within your adult years as well, depending on what has happened. Usually those limiting beliefs can come through like traumas. So if you've had a difficult experience and then you made that experience mean something,
Yeah.
that then meaning turns into a belief system. So that's like from this world, but you can then also have limiting beliefs that come from your ancestry. So depending on like the social, where you come from, like what country you come from, the culture that you come from, that is going to be embedded in your DNA. So that's also going to be affecting you. And then this is a little bit more woo-woo, and it might like, jar some people. You
Yeah.
can have limiting beliefs that come from your past lives, or also known as a parallel life. So from my perspective, my understanding, we experience life over and over and over again, and we have lots more, different characters, different masks that we wear. And in those lives, we try to learn something, we try and grow, and sometimes we may have not learned it. So then we brought it into this life to learn from it. So we are really dealing with a lot of different, ingredients in the pot, so to speak. And it's so important to be really acutely aware to understand, like, okay, so the limitations that I have are literally, they're not even real. They're
Mm.
just things that I thought were real, and I've now made them real. And now they're so deeply ingrained in my subconscious mind that they become my reality, right? Because seeing, believing is seeing. So that's essentially what a limiting belief is.
Beautiful. And thank you for going into the depths of that. And one of the things that we said to each other before having this conversation was that we really wanted to talk spiritual conversation, wanted to go a bit woo-woo. So anyone out there who's in the woo-woo realm, get ready because we are looking forward to go deeps. And as you can tell from Andrew, he just shared some there. And if some of you are going, what the hell is he talking about with past lives and parallel lives? Just know that you're in for a wild ride today on this episode.
Absolutely. I mean, the parallel lives things, it can make people feel a little bit like uneasy, but I just want to like share. I had a client who was like blocked and wanted to like make more money in her business or whatever. And I was tuning into her energy and I just saw immediately one of her past lives, which was she was a monk and she had like completely given up all material goods. And so I was like looking at this monk, and the monk was like wagging its finger, like, no, 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 we're not going back down that way. And then we like, reformed, talked to the monk, like helped shift its perception, understood that actually material wealth is a positive thing and you can use it for good and all that kind of stuff, and then released it. And that month she made her biggest income, so like 40K income. But the wild thing is she lives in New York. She's never seen a monk in her life. And when she was walking through New York, like literally a day or two after our session, she saw a Buddhist monk and she was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. So it may sound nuts, but it's true and it works. It is real.
Oh yeah, I totally believe in past lives and parallel lives, and yeah. So you telling that story, I just love hearing those kinds of things because that's the power of the as you said, the belief stuff becoming a reality. Like I said, we don't know consciously somehow why we believe certain things, or even sometimes we don't even know what we believe. Sometimes we feel like we're not worthy of certain things or we don't deserve certain things. And these are some of the things that will trigger out. It could be stuff, like I said, from society. It could be stuff from our family. It could be stuff from trauma. It could be stuff from past life, parallel lives. This is why it's important to sometimes go on those journeys and do some of this deep work so that you can get rid of the shit that's holding you back from truly being authentic, right? And I know that you love talking about authenticity and being authentic. And I know that, we're both in the gay community, we're both gay men. And I know that we from who we work with and who we talk to, that a lot of gay men struggle with necessarily being authentic. I'd love to hear from you and your perspective, maybe a little bit about your own journey of becoming so authentic in who you are, and also the struggles that you see gay men facing when it comes to really living their authentic selves.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, you hit the nail on the head there. Like the gay community and authenticity, it feels like there's kind of a something missing. It feels like sometimes people are trying to fit a mold, they're trying to fit some kind of stereotype, or because it's all about community and it's all about trying to bond and tribes. And so, obviously we look at Grindr, and Grindr literally has something called tribes, right? And so it is like it's in our DNA to want to be part of a community. And I see
Yeah,
it time and time again where gays are like, trying to be part of a community, but they might not actually be living authentically to who they are. And so for me, my journey was quite interesting. So I was born in Geneva in Switzerland, and I grew up in a tiny little village in France, which has about 400 people. And
well,
I was always like a very extrovert kid, like, and I was always very, very sensitive. And I think it was probably around the age of like 11 that I knew that I had like feelings for men or boys or whatever. But it was very much not accepted, like in the environment that I was in. It was very not accepted in the household that I was in. My mother was quite religious, not like ridiculously religious, but it was ingrained in her, right? So, and I did my first communion, all that kind of stuff. So immediately it felt like there was something wrong with me. I was bad. I needed to change. Like there was this like almost like so many of us experience and that we're forced to experience because of the warped perception of religion, that like I was somehow dirty or tainted and that I needed to change.
yeah,
And so growing up as a teenager, well, it was just so confusing and complicated and
totally.
ugh. don't want to go back to that one. And just like,
Mm.
playing around with like, am I bisexual? Am I gay? Like, what am I? Who am I? And then like having all of this like internalized homophobia and hating myself and like self-harming like every day and having suicidal thoughts and just becoming so well sick from my own self, I guess. And as I grew up, like when I got to 18, I had like my first boyfriend, but then there was an incident where my mum found out, and then that all went really, really bad. And she like kind of, bless her heart, it wasn't, it was all her condition that was coming out, but she basically said that it disgusted her and that she didn't want to have anything to do with it. And so I had to lie and say, well, that's not what you think, it's not what you think. And then she like was totally relieved. And then my heart was like really broken because I was like, well, the person that I love the most doesn't accept it. She does now 100%, like it's all forgiven, but this was kind of the journey. And so the authenticity, the authentic me could never really come out because there was no safe space for me to
Wasn't a
come
safe
out.
space. Yeah, no. Yeah.
No, and as soon as you, and so it was like just, so I did the international baccalaureate and it was like during my mock exams, and so it was a very stressful time. I then had this like thing happen with me with this guy that I was seeing that then told me I gave him HIV, and I was like, well, I don't have HIV, but I didn't know, so I had to wait 3 months to get a test. It was a lot of fucking
Stressful
shit
time.
going
Yeah.
on,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
not fun.
Overwhelmed.
Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, overwhelming. And I think also if I sit now from my perspective of understanding like energy and like I realized that I was creating all of these scenarios myself
Absolutely.
through my belief systems about myself, right? But when you're 18, you don't understand that. That doesn't even cross your mind.
Okay.
And so I think I started stepping into, well, I know I started stepping into my authentic self when I flew the roost, and I did my gap year and I was an actor and I was doing all this and I started to like find who I was, and but still there was still like judgment from other people being like, oh, that's camp, or oh, this or that. And so you would quickly go back into your shell and you're like, well, I don't want to be seen as femme, I don't want to be seen as this, I don't want to be seen as that, right? And as I just grew up and as I went to university and then I met my partner, then I just started to find my way. And then it got to a point where it's like, I don't really give a shit like what people think. Like I am who I am, right? At the end of the day, when I started to love myself, RuPaul, we all love her. And RuPaul, like, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? And it's so true. Like when I started to love myself, that's when I started to be able to accept myself. And that's when I started to become my authentic self. It's like this kind of step by stepping stones. And when you get there, and then when you feel that authenticity, it feels so good because there's no pretenses anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because truly, if you're authentic at your core, you have to truly accept yourself for who you are. And that means every part of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it doesn't mean that you can't want to be better or to improve or to make some changes in your life. It just means that you're accepting of the person that you are in this moment. And you can still go on a journey to love yourself more and to do things that are going to change your life or parts of your life. Um, but being authentic doesn't mean like you can't have an authentic person can't have self-hatred towards themselves because that's not living in your authentic truth. You're not living from that place. So do you see a lot of gay men who struggle, especially when it comes to internalized homophobia, think that they're being authentic to who they are, but really struggling with something deeper down in their heart and their soul?
Yeah, I mean, like, I said that I can spot, a blind spot within 2 seconds, and I usually close it off, but sometimes it just happens, I just pick up the energy, and people, especially the gay men that I have been around who are like high flyers, who are very, very, very successful. They're very much like the kind of the boss bitches of the world. Like they're actually living so inauthentically because they have this persona, and they can't laugh at themselves. There has to be this sense of perfection all the time, this
Mm.
pristine, like it's very materialistic. It's like, oh, I'm wearing the newest clothes, I'm going to the nicest holidays and I'm going to take photos of it. But it's not actually I'm taking photos of it because I'm enjoying it. It's like I'm taking photos of it because it's expensive and it shows like how successful I am. And in truth, what all that is all I want is validation and love, because when I was younger, I never received it. And now I'm proving everyone that bullied me wrong, and to show them how successful I am. And at the end of the day, that is always going to lead with failure and sadness and emptiness, because you're chasing, hedonistic approach, which is just instant gratification. You need to take a eudaimonic approach, which is really like experiencing meaning in your life, like finding meaning. There's nothing wrong with instant gratification. Of course, it's fine. Like studies have shown that it's good to do it, but actually in the long run, instant gratification shows the same level as people who are suffering from depression, loneliness. It releases the same kind of things within your brain. So whenever I see like gay men, it's not like, if you are that high flyer, that it doesn't mean that you're not authentic. I'm not saying that all men like that are inauthentic, but
Totally.
if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't laugh at yourself, and if you can't be just free, and a lot of the gay men I work with, they wouldn't even begin to think this, because they've been so good at lying to themselves to get to where they are, that to even start to think that they have internalized homophobia, to even think that actually deep down the reason they're putting on this persona is because they don't actually love themselves and they wish that they weren't gay, is too much for them. They wouldn't even be able to comprehend. So then obviously when you work one-to-one with someone like me or like you, that's what we do, is we help them understand, like, actually, and it's not like a blame, it's actually we just need to get to that point in order to then recover and step into our shiny selves.
Yes. Oh my God. The amount of people that are in this community who really, truly do not think that they have any problems at all. And like I said, think that they're perfect and trying to live their life in a perfect way is really alarming, because like I said, that push for perfection does come from that deep within you, that there's a part of you that doesn't feel loved or accepted, or you had some trauma growing up when it came to who you are. And again, yeah, telling someone in that moment, oh, I think you might be dealing with some internalized homophobia or some shame around your sexuality, then they're not usually in a place open to hearing that. So they have to kind of, I don't know, get to, like I said, you can't take a elephant to water, right? Like they're not going to drink it just because you're forcing it on them. So how, like, if someone out there is listening to this, maybe they're one of those kinds of people, what are some of the signs that maybe if they wanted to start opening their eyes, you would give them to maybe, allow them to start seeing that within themselves? Go, oh, maybe I do need to look into this a bit further within myself.
So I was just closing my eyes to tune in, by the way. I wasn't just suddenly like narcoleptic
No, I
falling
thought you were, I
asleep.
didn't think that you were falling asleep on me.
So the immediate thing that came to me was, you want to start to look at your thought processes when you're on your own. You want to look at, do you have a tendency of needing to fill up your diary meeting people because you fear being on your own, because you need to keep busy, 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 because that's what fills your cup? And you want to look at like what happens when you're on your own. Do you have a tendency of just like scrolling through Grindr looking for your next hookup, which is still just the need to be with other people, right? And so then start to be like, okay, can I honestly say that I feel happy? Can I honestly say that, like, I have happiness coursing through my body, or do I feel loneliness? Like, is my heart actually just craving, a partnership, a relationship? Or is my heart craving, I work a lot with people gay men who are incredibly successful. And it's like, but is my heart actually craving a job that gives me more meaning and actually more depth? And these are difficult questions, because we're going to have to make sometimes difficult decisions. And sometimes we always want to come from the understanding that absolutely, and I am the person that says making the impossible possible, absolutely anything can be successful. It's just your mindset that needs to shift, right? So if you are used to like a lifestyle that is very luxurious and you want to do something else, but you think, well, that's not going to make money, that's a limiting belief. Everyone out there, there are people who are creating God knows what on everyone TikTok, for example, and they're making tons of money, and they're no different to you. So it's really starting to be super, super honest with what is it that you actually desire. And if you start to have that honesty with yourself, immediately fear will come up, resistance will come up because it's a part of you that doesn't want to change, which is natural. But when you're really honest with yourself, and if those thoughts do come up, then it's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to change. Like, I'm ready to make the shifts. And at the end of the day, you know this as well as I do. If it doesn't come up naturally, it's going to come up at some point. Whether that is when you're 50, whether that is, when you're having a massive breakup and you find out that your partner's cheating on you, whatever way, there will be a catalyst that is going to change you because our innate nature is to be authentic. As children, our whole point is authenticity. When we're babies, we're always reaching for self-actualization. We're always trying to learn and grow. And it's the conditioning that we take on board from our caregivers that takes away our authenticity because our need to belong outweighs our need for authenticity. And so it's innately in us. So no matter what, you're going to be pulled towards it at some point. And I always say, just do it the easy way. Don't do it the way that like your life has to crumble because that ain't fun.
Definitely. And, adding on to that, like sometimes what happens is because when we talk about dealing with energy, and if you push things down and down and down, it can cause you to be unwell. It can cause you to be sick. It can cause you to have physical manifestations within your body, not just externally within your partners or, people in your life, your career crumbling. Things can actually happen in your body. And I'm sure you've helped people in your career where they were dealing with something on a health issue, and when they actually address some of the deeper down issues, those issues miraculously started to get better and move forward, right? And so again, adding on to what we were talking about before, is if you're looking at some of the things that we've talked about today, it's not necessarily the thing that we're saying is wrong. It's part to do with your intention of doing it and your perception of doing it. And so if you're doing something with the intention of, okay, like deeper down, my intention is I actually want someone to see me and to love me, or I want to feel like people value who I am or look at me in a certain level, right? That intention is different than going, you know what, I really want to push in my career here because I feel like what I'm doing is going to make an impact on these kinds of people. And from that, I'm going to be able to support my own family who struggled throughout my life. There's different energies that go towards doing that. Now, again, I'm not saying that every time you have a motivation that, and the motivation is, I need to show these people wrong, that you shouldn't have to do that. Like, I mean, there are sometimes fueling you from struggles can really get you somewhere. But deep down, are you doing this authentically because it's what you want, or to prove somebody else wrong? And I know I added a lot in there, but I'd love for you to touch on, like I said, the more of the sickness part and the health part, because I saw you nodding a lot as we were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, when we deny an aspect of ourselves, as you said, energy is just emotions is just energy in motion. And so the moment we decide to repress our emotions, bitch, the emotion needs to go somewhere. Like if you look at a gazelle and it gets chased by a lion and then it manages to miss being mauled to death, it will just go, back into the savannah. It will shake itself and then it will start grazing again and forget completely about it. Humans, we don't have that ability. So
Yeah.
what happens is the emotion gets locked into the body. This is a lot what I do with my clients and using the body as a way of as the roadmap. So your emotions are getting trapped in your body. So shame is one of the lowest vibrational frequencies out there. Shame is like the lowest of the low. So if you're experiencing internalized homophobia without even you knowing, because it was all created from when you were younger, that shame is hiding within your body, and then it's going to manifest itself in some way, whether that is, through like constant lung issues, whether it's through, thyroid issues, whether it's through like a constant, I don't know. I am from the mindset like if you constantly are getting STDs, it's because there is like a shame within you around your being gay, and so you keep on attracting those things to prove to you, oh, you see, it's bad to be gay, it's wrong to be gay, it's disgusting to be gay, it's dirty to be gay, right? I know medical professionals would probably disagree, but we're not playing in that realm, and I'm not
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
medical advice, by the way. I'm just, yeah, saying that. So we have to really, really
I'm not
be mindful,
saying that.
and
No worries. You go.
and on a medical point of view, actually, without being a medical professional, it has been proven that anxiety causes sickness. So like when people are anxious, they are more prone to be sick because their immune system is deficient, is suppressed. It's also been proven that anxiety can cause cancer, right? So this is like science, right? So if these things can cause these things, then other emotions can also cause things, right? Let's not just think that like one thing can cause another. So, but I'm always of the mindset of like cause and effect, but you are the cause, and the effect is whatever is going on within you. So, whatever you believe, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking is the cause, and the effect is what you're going to see in your 3D reality and also in your physical body because it's part of your 3D reality.
In a world where every journey is unique, one path shines brightly for the queer community. Introducing QueerQuest, the first of its kind personal development platform designed exclusively for us, by us. At QueerQuest, we understand the multifaceted journey of queer identity. That's why we've created a space where you can explore, learn, and grow with the guidance of queer experts from around the globe. Whether you're seeking to enhance your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being, QueerQuest is your gateway to transformation. Imagine embarking on quests tailored to your journey of self-discovery, finding community, and unlocking your queer excellence. QueerQuest offers online courses, coaching programs, and soon workshops, seminars, retreats, and festivals, all designed to empower you to live your best life. Ready to start your adventure? Join us at www.queerquest.vip to become part of a movement towards personal and collective greatness. Sign up today to join the waitlist and be the first to know when we launch. QueerQuest, where your journey of self-discovery and transformation begins. Don't just dream of a life filled with pride and purpose, make it your reality with QueerQuest. Visit www.queerquest.vip now. Your quest awaits. Definitely. I'd love to talk about, because you obviously, as you said, you were able to tune into to energies and you're psychic, etc. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you discovered that was a gift of yours, and has it, like, how that's evolved, I guess, as well, and the journey of it being maybe like something you were ashamed of maybe to start with or fearful of. Because when we talk about life, we talk about, especially for queer people, we talk about we have to come out as being gay, you have to come out as being spiritual, you have to come out as being psychic, you have to come out as being all these different things. And so I really would love to hear a bit about you coming out as psychic, and probably a similar alignment that might have had to struggle with being a gay man as well.
Yeah, and it's an interesting comparison because yes, a lot of people in the spiritual world say coming out to the spiritual closet, right? And then I had some DMs being like, "Oh, I think I know what it's like to be gay now. I've come out of the spiritual closet." I was like, yeah, maybe. Like maybe being gay's a little bit more harder, but okay. So I've always been super intuitive. I've always like been able to feel energy from a young age, but then I was always told like I was being paranoid or stop reading into things, and so then I just closed it off. When I was at university, I got into doing a lot of drugs recreationally, and I got into ketamine. And ketamine was like my drug of choice. Um, and then what happened was I ended up like being addicted to it and doing it like kind of like on a daily basis. And then I started to have these really crazy kind of experiences. And so then what happened was Cadman, you couldn't get hold of it anymore, and they've created something called MXC. And so I was taking that, but it was making me have the same site of trips, but with my eyes open. And then suddenly I just had this like, I guess, what is known as like a spiritual awakening. I started to see like auras. I could starting to hear people's thoughts and stuff. I started seeing like angels and demons and all this kind of stuff, and it was very, very, very scary. And I had no like anchor point. And so I thought I was going crazy. And what
Mm.
happens is the minute I started thinking I was going crazy, all of these like negative thoughts started to come in. And so then I convinced myself that I was a demon and that I was a bad person and I was going to hell. And so then that infiltrated into my dreamscape. And so then I was basically just like an absolute nervous wreck. I was at university and but I couldn't make eye contact. I couldn't do anything. I was just I was so paranoid about everything. Like I was convinced that the sun was aliens. Everything was just fucked. My brain was fucked. Um, and I was like, right, I'm gonna kill myself. I was like, this is done. I can't do this anymore. It's too much. And then this thought came in and I was like, but wait, no, 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 no. There's a light within you. You know it's there. This isn't the truth. This isn't who you are. And so that light, that of who I am, is what kind of like propelled me forwards. And so I had this like going on consistently for about 7 years, like these thoughts, this paranoia, this post PTSD. But during that, I met my ex-boyfriend of 7 years, and he was amazing. And he started to help me love myself. And, I did loads of therapy and all this kind of stuff. But still, nothing really was kind of coming. I was still stuck, I was still stuck in this kind of cycle. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until COVID where I was meditating and I tried to let go of anger and jealousy that I suddenly had like this twinge in my back and I slipped my disc. And so for 3 months, I was off work. I used to teach English to refugees and asylum seekers, and I was off work. And that's when, I started to delve deeper into spirituality, into different spiritual practices. And people were like, you're amazing. How do you do this? Wow, you're so good. And I was like, I don't know. This just comes naturally. I have no idea. Like. And then I set up my business, and then I had 150 clients within 3 months, and it just all like took off really quickly. And it was really, really amazing. And it was so interesting because during my journey, when I was in Thailand with my ex, we went to this like retreat, and I had this girl called Alana, I love her. She did some Reiki on me, but then also Chinese like organ massaging. And she then looked at me and she said, you've gone through something really, really, really dark. But she said, that darkness is going to be your gold. And I just looked at it and I was like, are you fucking nuts? Like, that isn't, I was like, I know exactly what she was talking about. I was like, that's never going to be my gold. No way, Jose. Like, I hated it. But the moment I was able to accept it, like we were talking, everything comes back to acceptance. The moment I was able to accept it, I stopped resisting it. And I started to see, like, oh my God, this was actually a gift. It was a very difficult moment, and it didn't have to get as bad as it did. That was my choice on some level, but it was my gift. And so from then my abilities just kind of developed, and because I had done so much work on myself, there was not an ounce of me that was shameful of being psychic. There was not an ounce of me because I've always loved the idea of magic. I've always, I love Harry Potter. I love all this kind of stuff, superheroes. So for me, this was like, this is fucking amazing. Like I'm a superhero, So it never, the only thing was, with my parents and stuff, they were a little bit apprehensive, but when they
Of course.
saw that I was helping so many people and getting so much success, they were like, cool, if it works, it works, and then they were like, oh my God, it really works. And oh my God, your clients are getting these results. Like, and so then, it was a really nice kind of moment of reflecting back of being like, hey, look, this is also available to you. Like, I'm not special. I'm not, nothing has been bestowed on me. It's just that I've done the inner work. And yes, maybe I'm a bit more open than other people, but we can all get there. It just takes discipline and practice.
Definitely. And I love that, what we were talking about before was like, when you're struggling and you've got these thoughts coming in, they manifest into to sicknesses or struggles. Same thing happened to you with having a slipped disc and things within your body. Like that's from you resisting and having those negative thoughts. And it took that to give you the space to, like I said, go deeper into your own spirituality and to, like I said, do the deeper work. So
Yeah.
sometimes, like I said, as you touched on that before as well, these things that you think of are like a shit thing that happens in your life. We have to sometimes allow that to be our blessing, our gift, because it can be the thing that shifted. And I've seen it happen, with my own family as well. My dad got cancer as well. He was dealing with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I could see him getting to a point where like maybe this is going to be the end. He had to go on a bit of a journey of forgiving parts of who he was and then us allowing him to like for us to forgive him, for him to go through a healing journey. And for many people, they would have thought that, oh, like who thinks that having cancer is a blessing? But in my family, it was. You know, I'm not saying that it is for every case. I don't want people to think that, but I also think that if we can look at everything and not have to say that this is good or this is bad, this is just something that we can go through and it can push us forward. You know, then you can shift
Beautiful.
your views on how you see whatever the situation is as well.
Absolutely. And you just touched upon something that I always talk with my clients is the law of polarity. So everything has good and bad, absolutely everything. It's just perception. At the end of the day, life is meaningless. It really is. It's the moment we give something meaning, then it has that meaning, right? So me being hit by a pickup truck, like I was telling you, in Thailand,
Yeah.
like it's the meaning that I gave to it that then started to define what it is, right? So then I started going into like what was interesting. It brought up some like deeper subconscious beliefs around like, oh, I'm bad or I'm being punished, right? Coming back to that moment there. And it was interesting that that resurfaced. But that's not the case at all. I just got hit by a pickup truck. There was something within me that called that in that I do believe. And I think there was an aspect of me that didn't want to be here anymore. And so I needed to go through that to really like anchor myself back into earth and being like, actually, I love being alive and I don't want to die. So I definitely feel like, and I also was, when I was on my moped, kept on fearing that I was going to crash my moped. So, you know, I called that in on some level. But the meaning I gave to it was my perception of that meaning. You know, I was speaking to a friend of mine who's very spiritual, and when I was going through my spiritual awakening, crows followed me everywhere. And I thought it meant that I was going to die. I was like, crows are the bringers of death. It means I'm going
Yeah.
to die. She said, no, she was like, crows are like your spirit animal, and they're here to warn you, to say, like, to help you go back on your path. And I was like, so interesting. Perception. Your perception, my perception, completely different, brought us on completely different tangents, right? So I think that's the big thing is like, whatever's happening in our life, we have the power to decide whether it is good or bad. Why not see every experience we have through the law of polarity and see it as something that is actually influencing you in a positive way and is moving you closer to your desires rather than further away.
Definitely. And I always like to believe that everything has the meaning that we give it, you know? And again, oftentimes the way that we get to uncover our meaning is from our beliefs. And again, if we have some that are holding us back, those limiting beliefs that you know we've talked about here today, those limiting beliefs can then give us the meaning of XYZ, or this happened because of this, or of course that's going to happen because, you know, it always happens to me that way, you know? So we can work on changing the meaning that we give things by working on uncovering what are some of the deeper beliefs that we have, you know? And again, why choose all these limiting ones when we have all these empowering ones on just on the same level that we can pick from as well, you know? We like some people think that beliefs are going to be there and they're set in stone forever. And as a limiting belief expert and someone who can bust those, and me going through it myself and helping so many of my clients through it, I'm here to tell you that's not true. Like beliefs, as you said, are just thoughts that we've believed for however long. And they've come from certain situations again, and those situations don't have to be good or bad, but we've taken meaning from them and we've allowed those to come into where we are today, and they do affect us in every single way, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think we have to also remember that our brains are hardwired to focus on the negatives because
Mm.
it's a survival mechanism. So don't beat yourself up if your brain chooses to go to the negativity because it's just a part of you, which is the reptilian side of you that's just like, hey, I'm in danger. Like, you know, it's just like it's natural, but you also have consciousness and you have the ability to change what you focus on. So if you allow your brain to just go on like default mode, you're going to be back in the jungle, you know, you're with your tribe and stuff, and you're going to be in a bit of a lower form of consciousness. But if you choose to actively make decisions of like and have that like determination and discipline to be like, okay, this has come up, but I know this is just my survival mechanism that's coming up. I can choose to think again. That's how you can start to rewire it, right? through repetition, through like repeating. Don't just repeat affirmations blindly, because it's actually going to work against you sometimes, because unless your system truly believes what you're saying, it's not going to sit into your subconscious mind, because it's going to dysregulate your nervous system. But start to like play around with like being you open questions, being like, oh, interesting. I wonder why I had this thought. Why did this thought just come up thinking that I'm not good enough? Oh, it's because, my dad didn't give me the love that I needed when I was a child. Interesting. Maybe I can work through this on my own. Oh, no, this feels like it's a little bit too deep. Maybe I need to seek someone else's help. Like, that's the approach I always tell people to take, rather than this kind of, I'm going to get caught up in the story of life. No, bitch. Be the observer, like observe your whole story. You are the writer, the director, the producer, you're everything. And so you have so much power. And actually, like when we dive in deeper into the woo-woo, you are the universe, and you are literally everything you're creating is just you and nothing else exists. But that may be a little bit higher level there. But you are literally the power, and you have the power to create and change absolutely anything. So why not give it a go?
Totally. And I know that you love, helping people with manifestation. And that's kind of exactly what we're talking for anyone out there. This is what we are talking about, manifesting. And you can manifest, good things that happen and bad things that happen. And when I say good and bad, again, that's perception of what we look at it. But you might look at them and go, you like, how did I create that? I didn't want it. By sometimes pushing towards it and saying that like, like you mentioned before, every time I got on the bike, I thought I was going to have an accident. The constant thought of that, unfortunately, led you to having an accident. Now, I'm not saying that again for everyone who has an accident that you've chosen this path. Again, probably on some deeper level, you have, because there is again often things that happen because of that pushes you in different directions in your life. But again, we have to step away from situations to actually then look back to realize that. But as someone who loves talking about manifestation, and these people out there who are listening, going like, how can I manifest some good things in my life? What are some tips or some tricks or some things that you normally would tell your clients that would be helpful for someone out there who really wants to manifest, something different in their life?
Mhm. Well, first and foremost, you want to be super crystal clear on what you want in your life, and also making sure that this is a desire that's coming from your soul and not coming from ego and not coming from the need to prove yourself and whatever. So, you want a new Louis Vuitton bag. It's like, okay, great. Do you want a Louis Vuitton bag because you actually want a Louis Vuitton bag, or do you want it because people are going to be like, I love your Louis Vuitton bag? You know what I mean? So that's the first and foremost thing that you want to do, is be really crystal clear on your desire. You then need to understand, like, what are your subconscious blocks when it comes to this desire. So when you think about that, like, what comes up? Like, well, I can never have it, it's not possible, it's too good to be true, I'm not worthy of it. All those kind of things are going to prevent your desire from coming in. Once you've done that, you want to be starting to shift your belief systems, right, through subconscious reprogramming, really understanding like how, like, okay, I'm not good enough. Great. Well, let's write down all the facts as to why I'm not good enough, and let's disprove them. You can do that in your own time, in your own space. We then want to jump into something which is quite fun, and it goes into more the energy of basically it being already fulfilled now, because everything's happening at the same time. Time is an illusion. And so you want to jump into this energy of like the version of me that already has it all. How do they talk? How do they speak? How do they interact? What is their beliefs, set of belief systems? How do they
Mm.
dress? And you want to imagine that you are in a VR game, and you've put the VR headsets, and you're this new fucking character, and you're a badass bitch, and you're doing absolutely everything that you want, and you want to start to live from that state. And it's really about like using your imagination, which is your seat of creation. And mystics will say that, your imagination is God's source energy, using your imagination to then create your new reality. So coming from that place, after that, you like start to embody it, the natural thing that's going to happen is you're going to want to look out at your 3D for proof. You're going to be like, well, where is it? Where's my manifestation? Why is it not here? Why is it not here? Yeah, looking. Oh my
Yeah.
God, is it that? Oh no. And then what's going to naturally happen is you're going to start to doubt yourself, and you're going to think, this is nonsense, this is bullshit, this doesn't work. The whole purpose of manifestation, from the perspective that I teach and from a higher level perspective is not actually about the material gains, it's about you feeling better. So reject the 3D, stop focusing on whether or not it's coming in, and ask yourself, do I feel better? Am I feeling like a better person? Do I feel more happy within myself? Do I feel more connected? Do I feel like I'm thriving more? Do I feel more loving, more compassionate? If that's a yes, you're on the right track towards your manifestations. They will come in when you're in vibrational resonance to your desire. And to be in vibrational resonance to your desire, you have to be in that frequency for a long period of time, because matter is a lot denser than energy. So in order for it to come into the matter, into the world, into the 3D world, it might take a bit longer because of it needing to move from energy to matter. Once you've done that, you rejected the 3D, blah, 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 you're feeling good. You're like, yes, queen, like walking down the street. Yes, 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 yes. Like you have like your theme tune and whatever, because you're using self-talk and you're like, whatever it may be. You then start to take inspired action from that place. Never take inspired action from a place of lack, scarcity, fear, worry. Never go on any dating apps when you're feeling lonely, insecure, lacking, because you're going to attract the same
People.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not the vibe. We don't want that. So only start to take inspired action. So if it's a relationship you want, if it's like a career promotion, only take inspired action when you're from this like really filled up energy of joy, of like, I'm the shit, this is me. And then you take action, and then your manifestations will start to just all roll in one by one. But I want to just reiterate what I said. It is not about the physical desire. It's about the frequency that desire can give you. And at the end of the day, you can already give yourself that frequency. So the desire doesn't actually even exist in the first place. So that's basically how I would suggest someone, if who wants to manifest, do that and follow those tips, and you'll then start to manifest really good things.
I love that. We just got a masterclass on manifestation within the last 5 minutes from Andrew Rowe. So if you've been out there trying to manifest and learn how to do it, and you've been trying to learn for years and years and years, rewind this 5 minutes and listen to that again, and we will be well on the right track, because I learn a lot in just hearing that. And even I feel like I am, better at manifesting than most. So thank you for sharing that with us, Andrew. Now,
You're welcome.
before we end the podcast today, I don't actually want to end, but I know that we're going to get into the hours and hours and hours if we don't. There's someone out here who's listening to this podcast, and I have a deep knowing that within you that there's a message that probably someone out there needs to hear, or a collective of people need to hear. And I know that I'd love to give you the floor to share whatever's coming up for you. And maybe I'm one of the people who needs to hear it as well. But I'd like you to tune into what is needed to be shared right now, because I feel like that's the moment that we're at.
I think the main message that's coming through at the moment is we're all individual snowflakes. We all have our own beauty that we're here to give the world.
Yeah.
And by comparing yourself to other people, you're robbing yourself of the beauty that you've come here to share with others. And so let go of comparison, go of this feeling of, if I was them or if I had this, then I would be enough. And start to just tap into the energy that you are enough no matter what. And the fact that you're listening to this right now means that you're exactly where you're meant to be. You're exactly on the right track. And that love that you seek is already inside you. And it's literally just a thought away. And that you don't need anything outside of yourself in order to find that. It's really just about coming back to yourself and finding that within you. Yeah.
Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I really felt that. So all of you out there, anyone who needed to hear that, I trust that you can take that on board. And the great thing about having these things out there in the ether, you can always listen to any of this again. So thank you for sharing that, Andrew. I really mean that.
Yeah, pleasure.
Well, Andrew, you've shared so much wisdom and so much amazing things in this last 45 hour, however long we've been going for. How can people find Andrew Rowe? Like, how do people connect with you if they want to understand more about what you do or what you share? Or yeah, tell us how we can connect with you. If there's anything cool coming up that you've got out there in the world.
Okay, so on Instagram and on TikTok, my same handle is at Andrew Rowe, ROWE 111. My TikTok is more around like manifesting and focusing more on that, whereas my Instagram is focusing more on like limiting beliefs and optimizing yourself to your highest timeline. So talking more about that, but also manifestation is also in it. It's always part of it because as we said before, we're always manifesting. My website is www.andrew-rowe.co.uk. Yeah, so you can email me if you have any questions, if there's something that you're like, oh my God, yeah, this really like struck a nerve, but I want to understand a bit more, just DM me. I'm a very, very, very like kind person, and I'm really here to serve people and humanity. So like if there's a question that you want to ask and you want an answer, I can try and give it as best as possible. And I also have a membership academy, which is called the Light Lounge Academy, that is opening its doors actually tomorrow, Friday. But obviously, this is not going to be released by then. So
It'll be
it
out now. It's out now.
Okay, it's out now. The doors are open. And this is an incredible academy where I teach you how to manifest. I teach you like the 6-step method, which I just touched upon, but in a much more detail. Like there's tips, there's exercises, nervous system regulation, positive affirmation rampages, ways to rewire your subconscious mind. And it's only £33 per month. So I made it like as accessible as possible so that as many people can attend as possible. And then also you have like one live call where I do a group healing around your limiting beliefs. So that the doors are open around that. So if you're interested about that, you can just send me a DM and I can tell you about that. And if you want to work with me one-to-one, I have programs called the Frequency Shift or Authentic You, and you can ask me about that and I can give you more information.
Beautiful, amazing. So many ways that you can get some help from Andrew, whether that's on social media or going deeper with him. So we'll share some of those links in the comments below. Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much for your time today. For me personally, I've loved having this conversation. I love having these kinds of conversations, and today has been a deeply amazing one for me. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely loved this conversation. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Anyone out there, you've got any questions, comments, sharing your story, you guys know how to find me on all social media, or you can comment below wherever this is at, and I always get back to everyone anyway. So you'll find me again. I'll be back next week with another episode of the Queer Quest podcast. But until then, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards love and happiness? Introducing the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness. This isn't just a course, it's a pathway to discovering your true self, overcoming challenges, and embracing happiness. Join hundreds of gay men who found joy and freedom. Learn from Cristiano Green, a coach with 20 years experience and a journey like yours. For a limited time, get this life-changing course at 75% off with a 100% risk-free guarantee. There's nothing to lose, but so much to gain. Your new life is just a click away. Enroll in the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness today. Visit theglobalpridecollective.com and start your journey towards a happier, more fulfilled you.